Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Mariah. Welcome to my home in Oldtown. I'd love to show you around.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Like and subscribe for more.
Hi, I'm Maria Crosby Pollard, and we're at my house in Oldtown, Alexandria, right outside of Washington, D.C. This is Daffodil Pollard. She is a long-haired mini dachshund. Oldtown, Alexandria is a historic town. We have, cobblestone streets. Our house was built in 1830. It's one of the newer ones. It's a great little old town. We live directly behind our church, and we walk to a little patisserie on the next block. We know our neighbors and our mailman and the UPS driver and all the sweet little neighborhood things, but it also has some good city things as well. We live 7 minutes from the airport, and our kids walk to school and can get around with their friends, and the playgrounds. The little tot lot is across the street, and soccer practice is just a couple blocks away. This house is a Colonial. It is a little bit of a hodgepodge lodge because the front part of it was built in the 1830s, and then it just goes back. When we moved in, our oldest son, who's now 15, was 4. And our preschool is part of our church, and it's on this block. And one of his friends came over and said, "Your house is really little, but it's long," because it goes back into the backyard. And so the back part of the house was built in the early 1900s. My husband is actually from Richmond, Virginia, and we ended up here because he had accepted a job here the morning of the day we met in New York, and he went to school here in Alexandria, to boarding school, and so he was familiar with the area. And I was still living in New York, and we were looking for places to live. We just were looking for, an area that we knew, we were getting married a little bit later, and we were looking for a good neighborhood with a good school district, and this was, had a lot of charm. Welcome to our house. This is our foyer, our stair hall. We don't have a lot of space to work with, so I tried to make sure that the surfaces had a lot of impact with all the different finishes. Although the patterns may feel modern, they're actually pretty old-fashioned. Malachite is a finish that's been used for many, many years. I used the same paper on the ceiling and under the chair rail because I thought it would probably take a lot of abuse. And I've got a mirror that was my grandmother's, but also a really contemporary table that you've probably seen a million times from, I think it's CB2. A great lacquer company tray from Mance, one of my favorite local stores, and a fun little visual comfort lamp with a custom lampshade from Midnight Sun. And a little vintage light that I have a little set of these. There's another one in the back of the house. We don't have a ton of wall space, so everything's kind of stacked up the stairs, and the grass cloth makes it easy to move art around because you don't see a lot of nail holes. These are Balinese shadow puppets, and I found these out at back when the Hampton Antiques Gallery used to exist out in Stamford. It was one of my very favorite places to find antiques. I still love going out to Stamford to find antiques. There are a lot of great antiques places out there. And these, I thought, had a great texture. And when you look closely, they have little pinholes in them. And it's my understanding, I have never been to Bali, but I believe that when these are held up, the light goes through them, and they do puppet shows with them. And on that one, you can see there's a stick to make the hands move. And then behind you is an old needlepoint. That was in my house growing up. And my mom was always needlepointed, but I don't know, that seemed like the only spot to put that. And then that's a piece of art that one of my friends gave to me. And I feel a little sentimental about that. And these are our children's portraits. My mother used to describe her style as early attic because of all of the sort of inherited, not necessarily fine things, but things that are sentimental and that have patina. And so we have a lot of things that were collected over time and belong to family, but also things that I've collected on my travels and from vendors who I love. And it's a mix of a lot of different styles and a lot of different looks. I think I do identify with the sentiment of early attic, but I definitely skew a little bit more modern. I would think that modern people would not look at this house and say it feels modern, but I think that traditionalists would not necessarily relate to this style either. I think I try to pick things that I love, and then they find a way to work into our house. We also have 3 children, and I try not to use things that will limit our ability to enjoy our house. This is our living room. Probably one of the most important things to me is this piece of art over our mantle. Agnes Barley is the artist, and she is an old friend of mine, and we bought this piece early in our marriage as an anniversary gift to ourselves. And I was so thankful that it fit over this mantle when we bought the house. So we sort of built the room around it. And the modern sconces that are here, the house was wired for them, but they just fit, and I wanted them because they didn't take away from the art. Probably the newest thing in this room are the Fromental panels that are flanking our mantle, and they have made such a huge difference in this room and making it feel cozy, and I really love that about the space. It feels cozy without making it feel dark, which is a challenge in these old houses that don't get a ton of light. This is another piece in here that I love. My husband and I bought this as an anniversary gift to ourselves as well. This is a print we got at Pace, and it's Alex Katz, and it's a big red smile, and that's his wife, who is in a lot of his artwork. These are where we keep all of our books. This set of figurines is part of a set that my father bought at auction for his mother, and then my mother has some of the set, and my brother has some of the set. So it's very sentimental to me. And wherever we've lived, we've always needed some bookcases where they could be safe. And it feels very special to me that my brother and my mom both have some of those pieces. This clock was also in the house that I grew up in. It needs to be fixed a little bit, but it also feels like part of my childhood. And then a lot of these pieces are just things that I've kind of collected in my travels, and things that have just kind of come with me. I love this chair. Is one that one of my upholsterers in New York made. He copied it from a vintage chair that we found when I was at Katie Ritter, and I've used it in a lot of projects, and it's just a super comfortable chair, and it's a great proportion, and it's just a very cozy spot to sit by the fire. I had an upholsterer here who I love work on it for me because I wanted something that was comfortable because we wanted to live in this room. This wall here looks like a gallery wall, but it's got a frame TV. Actually, the artist that has this piece of art that's projected on the television right now is Holly Coulis, who is another artist that I absolutely adore, and I would love to have a painting just like that of Holly's. I have a print that I love, but but I knew that if we didn't have a television in this room, that we wouldn't be using it as much in family life, because with 3 children, there's always stuff going on. And so, my husband and I sit here and we watch TV, but when we have people over, it doesn't feel like a TV room. And this is just a very cozy sofa, but it doesn't feel like it belongs in a basement. This piece of furniture was designed to go in our last house as a dining banquette. And that was something I designed before I had children, because I probably wouldn't put silk velvet on a dining banquette at this stage of my life. But it actually has held up very well. It's actually a silk mohair, but the back of it is an antique obi, which I love to use antique textiles in my work. I've always had a thing for antique textiles. I think that's another thing I've definitely got from my mother. And I think it adds so much depth. And I was so relieved that that piece fit right there. And this is, whenever we have parties, this always ends up being a spot where people gather. And it's made a huge difference in this space. This coffee table was something that I love so much from the lacquer company, and it was not the perfect size for this room, but the opportunity arose for me to get it, and I was really excited, and it's been great because it really makes it possible to sit by the fire and to be on the sofa, and it's a little overscale for this room, but I kind of love it. And during the pandemic, I put a cover over it, and we did puzzles on it, and the kids came in here and did their homework, and we lived in this room so much. I think we even had suppers around this kind of, Moroccan cushion style. It was a great table, and I put cushions on it so that my husband can put his feet on it, and it has a little patina, but I don't mind, and it works well for me for all my stacks of books everywhere and all my little things. This is a great vase that I found just from one of my antique dealers that I love, and truth be told, I stick a glass vase inside of it to hold flowers because I would be afraid that it would not hold the water. And I do try to keep branches in it, whatever the season may be. And a little secret is that I love the top of it so much, but it doesn't show if you sit it on the thing. So if you look right over there on the art wall, I hung the lid on a nail because I thought it looked so pretty, and I needed just something a little something round over there. But that piece it really spoke to me, and there was a grouping of them, and I couldn't part with that one. So I sold the other pieces, but I had to keep that one. My mother really wanted me to go to school for interior design, and I told her I thought it was an MRS degree, and so I set off to get a degree in drawing and painting. Not as practical for me because I don't have great skill as a drawing and painting major. But I attended the University of Georgia that had an excellent art school, and I'm currently on the board of visitors there. And now the interior design school is part of the art school, which I think probably would have had a very different feel to me at the time. But I'm so glad that I did have my background in drawing and painting, because I think that having all the color theory and the work with composition, and I loved all of the life study and my experience in drawing and painting, I think informs my work to this day. And then I got into decorative painting, which was all the rage at the time, and that actually led me into working for an interior designer who was wonderful to me, and I had incredible work even while I was in school, and that led me to New York to Isabel O'Neill, which is a wonderful school for the decorative finish. And I worked in the auction world at Sotheby's, got a great experience, got some great experience with antiques and interiors there, and it just all kind of went from there. And I think having a varied background gave me a different perspective versus just going to school for interior design at that time. I mean, everybody's path is different. And today, I did take some classes at New York School of Interior Design when I was in New York, which was amazing. And I wish that I had time to take some more. But I think that the history of interior design is so fascinating. But just having those years of work experience, I don't think I could have gotten any more valuable experience than that. And it was really valuable. And really, my mom was the one who pushed me to go to New York and get that foundation, and it was invaluable to me. All these rooms are connected, and the next room is our dining room. One thing that we did a couple of years ago that has made a huge difference in this house is we sanded and lightened all the old floors in here, sort of like the Swedish do, because they also have really dark times. And having the light floors has made a huge difference in the amount of light we get in these houses. This room definitely is, a collection of a lot of things. This table base was the base we had in our old house, and when we moved into this house, I had one of my vendors make the lacquer top to fit this space so that we could seat as many people as possible and to reflect more light in this room. I bought this chandelier in New York down, I think on Mott Street. I love this pair of lamps, and I got those shades in Charlottesville at the shade shop. That is something I painted in college, and the colors worked in here. I wouldn't say it's my favorite painting, but the budget was right. This is a set of vintage prints that I had put together, and I gave to my husband. I don't know if it's his favorite piece of art I've ever given him, but I really like it. These curtains actually were our bedroom curtains in our old house, and actually they're edged with the satin from our living room curtains in our old house. And it just all kind of, reduce, reuse, recycle. If you look here, you can see how wonky the ceilings are. You'll notice also when we go up to my daughter's room, how crazy the ceilings are. This entire ceiling, there's like a 2-inch difference from one side of the room to the other. But that's just sort of par for the course. I bought that painting in New York at auction. It was one of the summer sales. And I was so excited. I put in an absentee bid, and I just didn't think I would get it, and I did, and I was just so excited. And it's still one of my very favorite pieces of art, and I kind of pulled all the colors of the room around it. This piece right here is one of my favorite things. This is a Holly Coulis print, and she's one of my favorite people and one of my favorite artists. Is one of my grandmother's chairs. I would not advise sitting in it, but it was really special to me. This is it's like a mixture of wedding china and stuff that belonged to my family, and just sort of casual napkins, because we are a little more casual these days. Vintage glassware and vintage teacups that were things that I got from our family. I think this is sort of my color palette, and I love this. I got this tureen at the Washington Winter Show. I'm involved with that here. It's the antique show that we have in Washington every winter. It's a big fundraiser, and it's been a lot of fun for me to be involved with that. This is a Venetian glass blower, and my husband and I got them when we went to Venice on a trip, and I think they're one of my favorite things. And every time I go back to Venice, I try to pick some more up, and they're one of my very favorite things. We use them for water, we use them for cocktails, and I think they're some of my favorite things. I think I'm actually originally from Jacksonville, Florida, and I do, it's being in Virginia. It's everybody here takes their gardening very seriously. And I grew up, my father was a really serious gardener, and my mother claims she has a black thumb. I don't know. He died when I was pretty young, so I didn't really get a chance to learn any of his gardening skills. But I think my husband and I are doing our best to kind of limp along. But I do love to try to bring the outside in. But I think that it adds so much to have plants and natural things inside the house. It really does give a warmth, and growing up in Florida, we always had a lot of plants in the house, and it feels much more kind of normal and comforting to me. One of my favorite stores here in town, Mance, has all these incredible topiaries, and there are a couple of varieties that I can keep them alive for a lot longer than others. This is a brass firebox that no longer has firewood in it because this is available to use, but I haven't really, it's so small in here. This room is always hot. So we don't use this fireplace. But this is one that was in my house growing up, and my parents kept firewood in it. In Florida, it's a real challenge to keep your firewood dry and not very moist. So, and we have gas fireplaces in our two fireplaces here just because it is a lot safer to be able to turn them off. These two pieces over here are also Agnes Barley, the same artist who I have over the mantle in the dining room. And I think you can probably pick up that orange is one of my favorite colors. And it's sort of there are pops of it everywhere throughout the house. I think a lot of designers would agree, and I have dear friends in the business, and we all wish that we had a designer. It can be very frustrating. I think you always feel like you're the cobbler's children. I was grateful for this opportunity because having a deadline, it really forces you to deal with your own house. And but I mean, I think you never have the budgets of your clients. You never have the time to deal with your own space the way that you would for a client. It always feels like you have more limitations, or that's at least the way it feels to me. But in a different sense, I feel free to take risks for my own house in a way that I feel I wouldn't do in a client's house. And I always appreciate seeing other designers' houses because you can see that freedom in their houses as well. Because I think you always feel a little bit more responsible for a client's house. I mean, you should, and you do feel a lot more responsible when you're working with somebody else's money and somebody else's space to make it perfect for them. And that should be the expectation, but that also sort of limits a little bit of, I think, there's definitely some beauty in the not quite perfect, and in a little bit of the something that's a little off. It sometimes gives a better energy. We put this bar in right before the pandemic, and it has gotten a lot of use. We have a lot of storage in here. I love this color. This is Bancha by Farrow and Ball. I love this marbleized paper. And my friend Susan did it for me. And it's just been such a fun spot. Sadly, I really can't drink wine anymore because it gives me a terrible headache. So most of the time I'm just drinking tequila and soda with a little lime. I love these napkins. There's a store in Georgetown that made these for me. We did a party that everybody kind of joked was like the last big hurrah before the pandemic. And we had a party for all of our neighbors. And so this is our zip code on it. And it was in late February of 2020. So I sort of laugh whenever I see these napkins. and think about that great party. And one of these days I'm going to have another big party. Maybe I should have it now that our house is all cleaned up. Like everything in this house, this is just a passageway into our next room, which is the kitchen. This kitchen has been a constant work in progress. Most of it just was inherited. We didn't do a whole lot but paint and change the floor when we got here. Our appliances have been dying off one by one since we moved into the house. We have a little breakfast area over here, which is having an eat-in kitchen was a really big deal for us when we moved in. That was a huge win when we were looking for a place to live. So this is where we have breakfast every morning and some of our family dinners. And then our laundry situation happens back here, and some of our folding happens there and here. Actually, we just transitioned to this larger piece. We used to have a radiator here, and so we had a bench built up over that, which was a little bit higher, and it served our children really well when they were little because it was up a little bit higher. And this has gone through a few renovations. We had just 2 small windows in here. I feel like we're in a constantly chasing more light in this house because we only have windows on one side since we share this wall with our neighbors. And sort of, since we have light on this side, we want to sit as close to it as possible. So we redid our lighting. We put in these little flush mounts from Urban Electric that have helped spread some light around in the kitchen and make it feel a little bit cozier. I added in this vintage chandelier that helped a little bit too. And while we do not want to cover up the windows too much, we added these shears to help, and the trees and the walkway to kind of help give us a little bit of privacy from our neighbors as much as we love them. You just kind of want to give the kitchen a little bit more warmth. You spend so much time in here. I hate for it to feel too clinical. So there just wasn't, it was feeling, once we tiled the walls, I didn't, like many things with the cobbler's children, I didn't really invest in the tile. It was something that we did sort of quickly, and it felt too cold in here. So I wanted to add a little more warmth, and I loved this wallpaper. It felt so fun. And at the time that I did it, our children were young, and they were completely scandalized by the monkeys. They thought they were really funny. Total kitchen renovation is not really in our future, but when I get to that, I probably would eliminate the open shelving. Right now, I just keep our wedding china in here because it's the prettiest thing that we have. But these came with the kitchen. I don't think these corner cabinets are the most practical because they're just deep and they get dusty, but they just house things that are more attractive. With our kids, we had these julep cups, and I was never really fond of plastic glasses. So and we have a great neighborhood jeweler on the next block, and they were always really nice about banging out dents. So our children used the julep cups as their like kitty cups when they were little. I have a great friend who does a lot of container gardening, and she will find vintage containers, and she'll just post pictures of things that she's planted on Instagram and put it up for grabs. And I can't help myself because I think they're so cute. And she posted that, and I fell in love. So this was definitely something to convince the family about, but it was a little table that I found in North Carolina. We spend our summers with my mom in Cashers, and I found this little table there, and we really were desperate for just a little bit more counter space and a little bit of storage. And then I had one of my stone vendors make this top for it because I wanted something with a little bit of an edge. And also, I love this detail, and I wanted to have an example of the detail so that I could show it to clients. And just having this little bit of space with the rounded edge gives us just one more spot to use in this tiny little kitchen, but it doesn't take up too much space for us, for our chairs or for our cooking. It's probably not what would fall under optimal space if you Google searched it, but it works just fine for us. What is my favorite thing about our home? Is it bad to say our bar? No, I don't. Our last house, I loved our ceiling height, and I miss that, the ceiling height and the light in this house. But I do feel like we can entertain pretty well here, and I love, before the pandemic, we used to host people here all the time. We were always having sort of, groups, last minute family parties, and I would always have, a pot of soup on the stove, and with the, little tot lot across the street, we would inevitably have, pickup groups that would come over and have sort of last minute parties. And in Oldtown, it's kind of unusual to have space to do that, and kids would be in the yard, and now we ended up putting in a little bar right before the pandemic, and that ended up being, it's nice to have a spot to gather. I appreciate that. So if you follow me back here, we keep going back to our back stair and our family room. This is our family room, and this we turned into a gas fireplace, and the kids absolutely love it. Our daughter comes back here and turns it on and reads. They turn it on in the morning when they come down for school and it's chilly. We have our family computer back here. This is where the Xbox lives and all that stuff. The dog pillows, my son went to boarding school this year. He is a freshman, and he is very close to our dogs. I'm like everybody, every marketing person's dream, and I got these dog pillows, and my son was appalled. And he said he would never put those on his bed, but I think they're so hilarious. So here they sit, Otis and Daffodil, and the pillows are much bigger than the actual dogs, but we think they're really funny. And then these chairs I kind of love. They've had a little bit of a rough time and need to be redone, but these were in my mother-in-law's house. And I love the little old-fashioned scale of them. And I mean, these were the slip covers that she had on them, and I think that they're so fun. And I can't bring myself to redo them. Oh, I love this light fixture. This is Shades from the Midnight Sun. I've been working with since I was a wee decorating sprout, and they made this incredible light for us. This is an antique clock weight that I found, and we designed this fixture so that we could have something that had impact but didn't hit you in the head. I wear hats all the time. I have really sensitive eyes. It's actually kind of crushing me right now to not have a hat on with all the overhead lighting. So I needed a place to store all of them. I pretty much wear one almost every day. So this is where I keep all my hats. This is sort of our mud room. We added this in when we bought the house. There was a brick wall here, and this was a kitchen. And in our sort of most recent renovation, we opened this up and added coat closets here. This is a little table from Room and Board that I had cut down so that it could sit on the window or on the door jamb. And it functions really well. It has, the glue guns and a lot of the art supplies. And over the years, the supplies have kind of gotten less as their needs have changed. But it's been a great space back here, and the kids sit back here and they do their school projects, and when their friends come over, they make bracelets and do things with glitter. So it's a good spot. Let's head outside. So this backyard was a major selling point of the house for us. The children were really, they were 4, 3, and newborn when we moved in. And we put in this tree house, which was a lot of fun for them. And then in 2020, we added this swing. And this has been a great hit with the kids. It is terrifying to watch because they swing all the way up in the air here. But it's a lot of fun. And it's great to see the yard getting used. And the turf has added a lot because not much will grow under the oak tree. But it's nice to be out here and to have a little spot in the yard. We've tried to level the pavers out here a few times, but the roots of this tree just keep growing. There is, we thought that this tree had been here for hundreds of years. And then a man who grew up in this house actually stopped by and brought us some pictures from when he was a boy. And his family actually planted this tree, which was crazy. But our church actually there's an underground river, which is crazy. So I think that this tree just gets a lot of water and it has deep roots. So it's kind of funny. We thought it was like this historic oak, but it's just a quick growing one. But it does provide good shade in the summer and probably provides a little bit of sound barrier from the flight path. I find flipping through books so inspiring as well. I mean, I ended up putting shelves in here, and I may do some real sturdy built-ins, but here and at our studio, I have a pretty extensive library of design books, and it's just there's something so different about sitting down with a book. I love to curl up here by the fire when it's yucky outside, and I have my little sticky notes, and I take pictures of the pages and file them away, and it really, I do find so much inspiration in that. And there's something different about a book versus being online. Also because your phone's not interrupting you every 5 seconds, and I love to put a stack next to me and just sit there and do that, and that really is I draw a lot of inspiration from that. This house is what they call railroaded, so it's actually good that you don't have to go through all the bedrooms. My son's room is this way, and then my girls' rooms are this way. We'll go this way. This is my middle child actually has the middle room, and so usually somebody's walking through her room to get to another room. Since the house is railroaded, but her room had a little teen glow up recently, and she got wallpaper, which was really exciting for her. She picked the Schumacher paper, and we absolutely love it. I was so thrilled because it's something that I would actually want in my room. And last year for her birthday, she got a queen bed instead of the twins that were my grandmother's. So that was very exciting too. But she does have my grandmother's old lamps. And she's got a few other, grandmotherly things that she probably could do without, but she stuck with them. Like her, that's my great Aunt Eva, who is her namesake. We tried to do a little glow up on her West Elm bookcase with the wallpaper too, but I can't get over the transformation of wallpaper in a room. It really is just incredible what the difference can make, and we just reworked all of the things that she had, like her window treatments and everything. That was really fun. I had this is something I bought, in my single. This was exciting for me. I found this is a Gracie cartoon. Gracie used to do these cartoons when you were going to commission a custom wallpaper. And this was one of theirs that I bought. It may have been actually part of a panel, I don't know. But this was for sale out at one of those antique centers in Stamford. And this was like my central piece of art when I was a single person. And she's always loved that. And then I got these things. over my travels through various dealers and things. And they're all things that she was excited about to kind of make her room a little bit more grown-up feeling. And then there are a few little pieces of around her dresser over here. All of our children have little pieces of artwork that have New York in them, because we're trying to subtly brainwash them to love New York. This is the girls' shared bathroom. This Katie Ritter wallpaper is one of my favorites. I think it's so much fun. And this sink was, in the house. This was already here. And I just thought the Katie Ritter wallpaper made it seem so much less old lady. And so when we updated their bathroom, they had this sort of mini little clawfoot tub, and I painted the tub purple. And that's what their little window in the bathroom is purple as well. It's kind of fun to make it seem a little bit more fun for the girls. This is our youngest daughter's room. I'm walking downhill right now. You can see the whole room is very slanted. She was about 6 weeks old when we moved in here, and I would put her on the floor and she would roll to this corner. And it is, it's quirky. She is a big Harry Potter fan. So my friend Mark Gagnon, he does these incredible animals. We've got another one downstairs, but I saw that he did this owl, and I fell in love with it. So I got that, and I recently put it up here in her room. She is a great reader. We got her this little chair. This is an anthropology chair, and my friend Paige Green is an artist, and she did a collaboration with anthropology, and Selby also loves horses, so that was one reason that we did that. This bed actually is one that I slept in as a little girl. My mother slept in it, my grandmother, her mother, and her grandmother. I have definitely broken this bed. It's been mended a lot of times. It's kind of listing this way because of the slant of the room, but it is it's a neat old bed. And we just got her some bulletin boards because she's taping everything up on the walls, as preteens will do. And it's been, this is a local artist, Nicole Seifert, painted her this picture for her birthday, which was great. I love vintage. I think vintage things add a lot of character. But I mean, she actually has a lot of bungalow stuff in her room. These are both bungalow pieces and have been super functional for her. And I love to mix those new things and with the vintage. I mean, when you've got this really, really old bed, it's nice to have these cleaner things. And the same thing in Eva's room. She's got the antique desk that was, and the antique painting. So she's got the lacquer dresser and some of the more contemporary pieces that I think help to balance those things out and make them a little bit more palatable for the young. As I said, everything, you walk through one room to the next, but this is our front stair hall. You can see the finish continues from downstairs, and the grass cloth makes it easy to put all of our family pictures and things up here. One thing I'll share with you, if anybody's familiar with Cafe des Artistes, that used to be an iconic spot on the Upper West Side of New York City. This is kind of a fun thing. Howard Chandler Christie was the artist who did all the murals in there, and it was a neat place to go. And I went when I was little, and when I lived on the Upper West Side. Well, he actually came to Jacksonville when my grandparents were there, and he was painting the murals in the church, and he stayed with my grandparents. And so he did my dad and my uncle's portraits. And so this is a portrait of my dad that looks a little bit more like a cherubic angel, because if you look at the lips and things. But that is a portrait of my dad that was Howard Chandler Christie, which is kind of fun. So that was really fun for me when I was little to get to go and visit Café des Artistes and know those portraits, and that he stayed with my grandparents. These are just all family photos and one of me when I was little, and that is a baptismal gown that I was baptized in, and my children were all baptized in, and it's just in a little box where it can be taken out when anybody in our family needs it. This is our primary bedroom. When we moved in, the closets were not deep enough to have hangers in them. So with a 4-year-old, 3-year-old, and 6-week-old, we had to do a little construction in our bedroom, which was great. We had to move this wall forward to make 2 closets here for us, but it worked out. And then just kind of a lot of vintage things. The most recent thing in here probably is this bed, which I was super excited about because I bought this headboard when Lisa Fine it was before she started her fabric line, and she was going back and forth to India a lot, and she had these headboards that she had a kind of really before pop-ups were even talked about as pop-ups at Keith Langham's showroom. And I splurged and bought this headboard, but it was a queen. And when we had a California king, it didn't work. So my Charles Beckley in New York turned it into a California king headboard for me and made this bed. And these box springs actually have storage drawers in them, which is super important in a house that has almost no storage. So that was like a major thing for me to get this bed, and I love it so much. It was one of my very favorite things. And I love this Leontine quilt, which feels really fancy, but is also fine for our dogs who definitely sleep in our bed. This is their little stool. They hop up on it and hop on the bed. And I bought those vintage side tables in New York, and they also have a ton of storage in them. And those drapery panels were cotton velvet draperies that I bought at IKEA when we first found this house, and we had such no time and no budget because they were a close match to the Pharaoh and Ball blue ground color that I wanted to use in here, and I needed something that was that would help the sound of the bus route. This is early attic. This bench was my great-great-grandmother's, and I would never have bought that, but it fits, and I certainly can't get rid of it. So I put a fun fabric on it, and it fits between those doors, and it's a great place to, put our clothes out in the morning. And then this thing, I cannot help myself with antique textiles, and I thought this was so fun, and all the colors worked in here, and we're just never going to probably use this fireplace. So it just sort of helps cover up the black hole, and I just can't help myself at an auction. I just love it. And I found this also in Westport at, I found this in Stamford at one of the antique malls. And my husband keeps trying to find the artist online because he's convinced that it's something really fabulous and valuable. But I keep telling him he's just got to enjoy it for what it is, because I don't know that it is, but I love it. My favorite thing about this bathroom is heated floors. And I love our little Harlequin wallpaper with the hummingbirds. We spend our summers in North Carolina, and we have a ton of hummingbirds up there. And this has this little it almost looks like tea paper, and it has a reflective quality. I have a nude in here by Ridley Howard that is that our children felt was inappropriate for downstairs. But it's a pencil drawing that he gave us as a wedding gift, and I really love it. What does home mean to me? Home for me is being comfortable. I love to have music on and have my friends around me, my family around me. It's nice to be able to be comfortable in your house, to feel to feel that your space reflects you, and to feel that you don't have to, it's nice to feel settled. And I do think that having your home pulled together in a nice way, it doesn't have to be in a luxurious way, but sort of, organized and peaceful, whatever that means to you. I think that's what home feels like to me. Having, and I'm grateful that I love having food that I can share with friends, and a space that I can share with friends, and having my dogs and having my children. That's what home means to me.
Thanks for watching. For more Homeworthy content, be sure to like and subscribe.